Part 1. Facing the ghost and the illusion of danger. Let's start with a radical idea about danger. The only effective way to handle a real threat, and I mean the only way, is to face it. If you let yourself become genuinely frightened of a danger, you immediately make it 1,000 times worse. Why? Because you start projecting onto it all kinds of threats and bogeys that don't actually exist in the situation itself. You turn a manageable issue into a monster in your mind. Think of it this way, and this is an ancient metaphor. Whenever you encounter a ghost, do not run away. If you run, the ghost, the illusion, the fear itself will capture the substance of your terror. It will materialize itself out of your own vital energy, out of your fear, and eventually it will take over and consume your vitality. But what if you did the opposite? What if, when confronted with a ghost, you walked straight into it? When you walk straight into the thing you fear, it simply disappears. It was never a solid threat. It was a projection, given substance only by your willingness to flee it. This is a profound insight into how our minds handle anxiety. The mechanism of anxiety. Our whole lives are often lived under the shadow of one command. You must survive. We pound this out day after day, living in a constant state of anxiety. What exactly is anxiety? Anxiety is the fear that one of a pair of opposites, like life and death, good and evil, pleasure and pain, might cancel the other out forever. We fear that the darkness will swallow the light, or that the failure will erase the success. We are terrified of the permanent loss of the pleasant side of life. Now imagine for a moment that you were to find out through some means that this fear is completely baseless, that the opposites cannot cancel each other forever, that they are, in fact, two sides of the same coin, forever in flux. When you discover that this fundamental anxiety about survival is unfounded, you suddenly gain an entirely new attitude toward what human beings are doing on this planet. This shift can be incredibly creative, freeing you to act without the paralyzing fear of loss. But it can also be very dangerous. Dangerous because you see through the game. You realize you've only been kidding yourself, that you are just poor little me, the guru's look. This brings us to the function of a spiritual teacher or a guru, particularly in Eastern traditions. Someone comes to the guru with a familiar plea. "Mr. Guru, I have problems. I suffer. It's a mess. I can't control my mind, and I'm miserable and depressed." The student expects the guru to be a mind reader, a great magician who can see all the dreadful, embarrassing, dark thoughts and awful desires hidden deep in the unconscious. The student feels nervous and self-conscious as the guru gives them a funny, penetrating look, but the guru isn't looking at the problems. He's giving that funny look for an entirely different reason. The guru sees in you the Brahma, the Godhead, the fundamental creative force of the universe, simply claiming with total sincerity that it is poor little me. That's why he gives you that look. That's why he seems to see right through you, as if to say, "Shiva, old boy, don't kid me. I know exactly who you are, but I must say you are coming on beautifully in this act, that you're somebody else altogether. I truly congratulate you. You're doing a wonderful job playing this part you call my person." The real challenge, bringing something back. The truth is, it's all very well to have an experience of ecstasy. Anyone can theoretically become aware that they are one with the eternal ground of the universe. But since that is what you are anyway, I'm going to ask, so what? Think of a hero in an adventure story. The hero leaves their people and goes to a strange land. They could just hide around the corner for a year and come back saying, "I've been on a heroic journey," and tell all sorts of fantastical tales. But what happens? The people say, "Prove it." They expect the hero to bring back something, a physical artifact, a new knowledge, an elixir, something that nobody had seen before. Then they believe the journey was real. In the exact same way, anyone who goes on a spiritual journey must bring something back. If you just return and say, "Oh man, it was a gas. I saw the light," anyone can say that. It doesn't help anyone else. This is why in Buddhism, There is a fundamental differentiation between two types of enlightened beings. Part 2. The first inquiry, discovering what you love. So, if we accept that the goal is to move toward this awakened state, whether privately or publicly, where do we start in this conventional world? The journey back to realizing your true nature begins with a very simple, yet profound, first step. The instruction goes, the first thing you must do is discover what indeed you love. If anything, you will find that there is something you love. And once you identify that object of love, you must then go into the nature of that object. This inquiry is the first practical step to breaking down the illusion of separation between you and what you experience. Consider the self-professed selfish person. They claim to love themselves, but when you look closely at what they are loving, you realize they are loving an object that they mistakenly think is different from themselves. Let's take concrete examples. Selfish people love their sense of self, but they might also fiercely love things like ice cream, or in the conventional sense, booze, ice cream, booze. In the conventional sense, alcohol is not you, ice cream is not you. You consume it. It is broken down. It turns into you momentarily. And then it's gone. You must then go look around for more in order to love it once again. Crucially, so long as you are seeking to love it externally, it is never you. It is an object separate from the perceiving subject. Loving people, even when you love people, even if that love is entirely selfish, meaning you love them purely because of the pleasant sensations or benefits they provide you, it is still somebody else that you love. They are objects generating a favorable experience for you, the subject. The instruction here is to follow this thread honestly. As you inquire into the nature of this love, as you chase down your selfishness and see what it truly clings to, many interesting transformations begin to come about in you. The line between self and loved object starts to blur as you investigate their impermanent nature. Part 3. The transformation of selfishness. We've established that the starting point of the spiritual journey is an honest inquiry into what you truly love, even if that love appears to be purely selfish. By following this trail, chasing down the object of your attachment, whether it's an experience, a thing, or a person, you begin to see the relationship between yourself and the external world in a totally new light. One of the most fascinating transformations that comes about from this honest self-inquiry is the crumbling of the perceived boundary between the self and the other, the blurring of boundaries, ego dissolution, when you sincerely and rigorously follow the trail of your own selfishness. You find that the distinction between loving something outside of you and loving yourself starts to dissolve. Here's why. You love ice cream because of the pleasant sensation it gives you. You love a person because of the agreeable feelings they generate in you. Therefore, what you really love is the pleasant sensation, the feeling of satisfaction. The object itself is just the catalyst. This realization leads to a profound shift. The object is impermanent. You realize the ice cream will melt, the pleasure will fade, and the relationship will change. This brings you back to the pervasive dukkha we discussed earlier. The subject is also impermanent. You realize the self that is seeking, consuming, and experiencing pleasure is also not a solid, fixed thing. It's the stream of experience itself. The love is the connection. You see that the very act of loving, even selfishly, is a form of outreach or attachment. But because you are pursuing it honestly, you begin to see that this attachment is simply an energy of connection, a way of defining yourself against or through something external. This inquiry, this honest pursuit of selfishness, becomes a paradoxical pathway to the non-selfish. It reveals that the ego, the poor little me we're all playing, is fundamentally built on the need to possess, consume, or cling to something other than itself. When you see the futility and transience of every single object of desire, the motivation for the clingy, contracted self starts to lose its power. Upaya, the skillful means of the bodhisattva. This process of transformation is what provides the bodhisattva with upaya, skillful means. The Pratyeka Buddha simply sees that the objects of the world are impermanent and unsatisfactory and retreats. They achieve realization, but they don't solve the problem of how to be in the world while still helping others. The bodhisattva, however, goes through this inquiry and comes back. They realize that the play of opposites, life, death, love, hate, is a self-sustaining dance. Not a battle where one side permanently wins. The person they are playing is merely a role, not their ultimate reality. But they realize that most people are still deeply invested in the act. Therefore, the bodhisattva brings back upaya, the skill to use the rules of the game to help others see the game itself. They re-enter the everyday life of everyday people, but they engage with it differently. The bodhisattva's approach is to meet you where you are. If you are obsessed with making money, the bodhisattva might teach you how to make money with integrity, eventually revealing that the integrity, not the money, is the source of peace. If you are trapped in a cycle of suffering, the bodhisattva doesn't just say life is an illusion. They use simple, relative language, like the teaching of the Four Noble Truths, to give you a tool to work with your current reality, guiding you step by step out of your anxiety. Their return is proof that the great secret, that you are the Brahma, the Shiva, the Godhead playing poor little me, can be lived within the context of the world. They bring back the tangible evidence of their journey by demonstrating a fundamental freedom from and within the conditions of existence. They play it cool, inviting you to join in the everyday life of everyday people, but with the profound understanding that the stakes are not what you thought they were. The essential discovery for both you and the bodhisattva is that the fear of losing yourself or losing the pleasant opposite is baseless, because the true nature of reality is the whole dynamic play of both opposites together.